Welcome to the Intelligent Transportation Network.
Self-driving, often touted as the solution to our city's transportation and infrastructure problems. Shenzhen have done a fantastic job in electrifying their entire fleet, but the next race is on for autonomy. We're here in the west of China in a place called Chongqing to see what the future looks like. It's the Robobus by Baidu Apollo. So is this really the future of transportation in our cities, and how does it even work? Well, let's find out on Fully Charged.
Farnborough, Amsterdam, San Diego, Sydney. The world's #1 festival of clean energy and electric vehicles is coming to you. Whether it's Fully Charged Live Europe, supported by Mobility Service, or Fully Charged Live UK, supported by LV, we can't wait to see you there.
Essentially, Baidu started off as a search engine operator on the internet, much like Google, and then branched into other areas as well. And in a big way, they've come into autonomous vehicles. And as you can see behind me, there's 2 of them here today. They've also got licenses to develop this and test it in both China and California. So it's a very global project. It's open source, so people can contribute. Now, these guys are investing in this very heavily, and they're actually the first commercial bus in China to actually be able to charge fees to travel on these buses in the city. It's only in this small city. We're in Chongqing, in a place called Yongchuan, just outside Chongqing, and this is where they're actually using it as a test bed first of all. So let's have a look around the bus and find out a little bit more information about what they're doing. So the bus behind me is a Qinglong bus. It's fully electric, as you would expect, and they've been built in development with Baidu. Now this has some really neat features. It's actually quite a small bus. It's about 5.9 meters long, so not big at all. There's only a few seats on the inside, but it is fully autonomous. And how does it do that? Well, obviously with these sensors around the outside. So I think it has 4mm wave sensors. It has 7 monocular cameras. Monocular cameras are like binoculars, but just one, and so it's got 7 of those. And the most interesting thing is that this bus can see an object 10 centimeters big, 240 meters down the road, and instruct the bus whether it's a danger or something which can be ignored. We'll see more of actually how this looks on the screen a bit later on. And these are in commercial operation right now in this city, where you can just book it on your phone and it will pick you up at a bus stop like this and take you on a 10-kilometer route around the city. So booking the bus is actually very, very easy. So you just open the Baidu Maps app. So you've got a Maps app. You go into the app and you select bus booking, which is the Robobus. It opens up your Robobus booking, says when the next booking slot is, because this has only got a limited number of seats, where it's coming, when it's coming, because it's all linked into this intelligent transportation system. You press book, that's it, the bus turns up and you've got your seat. So you may be wondering about how this system actually works. So behind me you'll see this box here, this Apollo box. And so this whole system is built with a 5G network to give lots of speed to communicating with the bus and the roads itself. So the bus obviously has its own sensors, it's detecting the environment around it. This gives data to the bus around traffic light waiting times, whether the bus should slow down for the next traffic light. It's all interacting with each other to make this full ecosystem to make the roads even safer with the robo-buses on the streets. It's a very, very impressive tech, and this is what they talk about when they talk about intelligent cities. Everything's communicating with each other so it all works in harmony, and that the bus can have a very, very safe and comfortable journey. So as you can see, the bus is stopped at the stop here in the city. We're going to quickly jump on and I'll show you some of the features. So this King Long bus has about 13 or 14 seats, and they're in a pretty basic configuration. And in the front you'll see that there is a safety driver. So the safety driver is there because of the regulations mean that you have to have that, but the person won't actually touch the wheel or touch any of the pedals. And these are the two screens that I was talking about. So one is what the computer can see in terms of self-driving. You can see all of the people who are actually outside the bus right now. You can see other things like the bus stop. You can see cars going down the road. It's actually very, very good. And on the drive here, I saw that it sensed everything, motorbikes, people, cars, and it just showed it on this screen. And then this screen down here just shows you that really the driver is not touching the wheel or touching the pedals. So two very fascinating views for the passengers on this small bus. So you know we love a big data screen here at Fully Charged, and this one doesn't disappoint at all. So they've got the regular screen with all the data about the cars and the buses which are travelling around. On this screen though, I want to show you something very special. So you see this view up here with the camera. So this is seen from one of the traffic cameras. This is a live feed of the traffic at the moment. But what's interesting is the 5G network boxes that we saw earlier on the road are actually scanning the road here. So this camera is seeing this view, and you can see exactly what the cars and the traffic are doing in real time. And these are then linked to the traffic lights to optimize the waiting times for the cars. So they don't have to wait for a long time. In fact, it will just move these cars on if it needs to. This is what an intelligent transportation network looks like. It's this combined with the buses and the taxis, and this really is a view of the future. So what I'm sitting on now is something which is really, really exciting. So this is one of the other models of their buses, and this is not a concept. This is actually running around the Baidu campus right now. It's fully electric, and where I'm sat actually is where the driver should be sat. So where the cameraman is, there's another seat, but this is actually the front. Now, obviously this can't run on the streets just yet because of the regulations, but the fact that they're doing this right now on a closed campus means it can't be that far away until this is actually potentially brought onto the streets as well. So if there's something I love more than big data screens, it's scale models like this. Now on this model, you can see a number of different vehicles. You can see buses, you can see cars, and you can see trucks. So in the future, I think Baidu Apollo want to be working with trucks as well. But the interesting thing about this model is just it shows you the whole ecosystem of how this really works. So you've got these connected traffic lights, which have LEDs on top, and these are prioritized. So let's say an ambulance was coming along, it would change all those lights to green so the ambulance could get through quicker. It would also prioritise public transport, so the buses, for example. If the light is red, the bus will be given priority and the light will change to green. I think this really sums up kind of how efficient the city of the future could actually be. Now we've moved from Chongqing to Beijing because this is the taxi testing base. We're in a gigantic warehouse here, which is full of autonomous cars. And now behind me we've got a little display area, and this shows you kind of the evolution and the history of what Apollo have been doing over the last few years. So this is the Cherry QQ, a very small, popular, cheap Super Mini, and this is their kind of first autonomous driving system. As you can see, quite chunky, lots of radars and things sticking out. And then they changed to a BYD Qin. So this is a hybrid model, very, very popular here in China. And as you can see, the change in the kind of technology is moving on slightly. So there's less maybe radars and some slightly different tech on here. Now these are the very latest models, and these are the ones we're actually going to see later on today. Now it's a much more compact unit, a lot more tech going on inside, and very, very impressive. This is just since 2013 that they've done this. So they've developed all of these models, all of these different technologies in a very short space of time, to the point now there is a warehouse full of these just behind you, where we're going to see what the actual Hongqi taxi is really like. So you may be wondering why we're here in Beijing. That's because Beijing one of the first to grant commercial licenses to Baidu Apollo. And so that's why we're now in a massive warehouse with rows upon rows of electric autonomous cars. And you can see lots of them behind me. This usually has about 200 cars in it, but they're actually out on the streets taking passengers for rides right now. And that's what's amazing. These are now on the streets doing commercial pickups and drop-offs on the streets of Beijing with no driver. It's just unbelievable and completely mind-blowing. Now the car that they're currently using is this. This is the Hongqi EHS3, sorry. It's an EV. It's got about 52.5 kilowatt-hour battery, about 400 kilometers of NEDC range. So pretty average specifications and about 250,000 RMB. So between all of the taxi service they have, so both here in Beijing and a few other cities in China, they do about 40,000 kilometers per day autonomous driving. That's some incredible amounts of data that they can gather about driving on Chinese streets that they can use to improve the system in the future. The other is that this has carried out 210,000 commercial trips up until March this year. So it's not just a kind of a small trial run, it's going out there on a big scale. Now obviously when we try it a little bit later on, it is in a limited area as well because of the V2X system, very similar to the buses. So how does the car communicate to the V2X system? Well, as you can see on the roof here, we have the cameras at the top. You've also got the LiDAR at the very top up here, and then two mushroom-shaped things at the back is your GPS positioning. There's also one LiDAR in the front bumper as well. So I'm here in the driving seat of this car, of this taxi, which is somewhere I shouldn't really be because you don't need anyone sitting here for this car to drive. The only difference really in here is the screen. So all of the other controls here are normal, and it can be put into manual mode as well, should you need to, move it around a car park outside of the V2X zone. And this screen here is showing me exactly kind of all of the objects around in this warehouse. At the moment there's a few yellow dots for people, showing where people are standing, a couple of green kind of blocks showing where other large objects are as well. In fact, this warehouse is actually mapped out because this is where they park the cars, so these can autonomously park in this car park as well. Now, this car has level 4 autonomy, and it's one of the first to be granted a commercial license for level 4 autonomy. Now, there is some debate about what level 2, 3, 4, 5 are, but I found a really, really good way of explaining it. So I'm just going to very briefly touch on that. So level 2 driving essentially hands off. So we've seen that in a lot of cars which are on the streets right now. So level 2 is hands off. Level 3 is eyes off. So you can take your eyes off the road and maybe speak to your passenger, for example. Level 4 is mind off. So essentially you don't have to think about driving. The car will get you from A to B without you having to think about anything. Essentially you could watch a movie or play on your phone or something like that. Level 5, you get rid of the steering wheel, essentially, so hands off. Even more so. You don't need a steering wheel, it's completely autonomous. So we're at level 4, so there's just one step away from full automation. And I think the way that Baidu Apollo have gone just in a few years, we should be at level 5 potentially very soon through all of the data and information they're collecting through this. Now this is very exciting because we're actually going to take this for a commercial ride in just a minute. Right, so we're here at the side of the road ready to call our taxi. Now it is as simple as logging into an app and pressing a button, waiting a few minutes and then getting in the car. It's as simple as that. One thing I should note is that the taxis we're getting in today will have a safety driver. They don't have the license in this location in Beijing. In another location they have the license to not have the safety driver. So you're going to see the safety driver in the car today, but it's as simple as this. Put in our second location and then press that button and then agree, and that's it, done. Oh, this might be it, maybe. Here we are. Here we go, there's our autonomous taxi, it's here. Oh, can we jump in? That's it, let's go for a ride. Right, we're in the back seat of the car and all we need to do now is press the button on the screen to start the journey. So press that and it gets ready. It's preparing, 75%. Driver takes everything off and he's not holding anything. Wow. So he's got his hands just underneath the steering wheel because obviously they don't have the license approval in this area just yet. But he's not driving. He's not touching anything. So on my screen I can see exactly what the computer can see. So I can see that you can see the lines in the middle of the road, if there's cars parked on the side of the road. It's showing the cars in front, the bikes, the speed we're doing, how far it is to get to our destination, 8 minutes, 4.5 kilometers. Very, very impressive. The amazing thing about this technology is that it just becomes so normal so quickly that you kind of forget that, oh yeah, it's a computer driving the car. So incredible. So this is the same V2X system as the buses, so it's communicating with all the lights, and it's showing me that with this light here is on red for going straight, and it's communicating with the centre back at the HQ about kind of traffic flows and everything else. So the little grey boxes are on the side of the road as well, all on a 5G network, and that's it really. I mean, it's just an odd sensation. Let's just sit back and enjoy the ride really. It's just astonishing how just normal that seemed. Even with the safety driver, with no safety driver, it just seems normal. I know, not... my mind is blown as usual. So what we're seeing here is not really the future of transportation because it's already here. And this is going to spread across China and probably overseas very, very soon. And what's exciting is this is a massive shift away from our way of thinking about transportation in cities right now. Imagine a city which has one lane just for autonomous taxis and buses, freeing up more space for bicycles and pedestrians. That is really the city of the future, and that is what this technology is about. And that's why I think this is really, really exciting for the future of our cities. So that's all we've got time for today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode from Beijing and Chongqing. We have plenty more episodes coming from China very, very soon. We've got our Patreon links around this video, YouTube memberships, and the subscribe button. And if you have been, thank you for watching.
Well, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. We are so lucky and proud to have Elliot as part of the Fully Charged team. He makes amazing shows. We'd never find out that stuff about China if Elliot wasn't doing it. And if you want to see a previous episode, have a look down there. That's one of the classics that he's done in the past. Here's our latest episode up there. You can support us on Patreon. Have a look at the link there. And here, just click and subscribe. Thanks.